Hi, my name is Joni Sternbach. I'm a New York-based artist. The show that I'm talking about today is Western Wave at Berggruen Gallery. I learned the wet plate collodion process in upstate New York with a man named John Coffer. When I first learned the process, it was just very exciting because everything is done in a portable dark box and it's done outdoors. And it's like, I call it the Polaroid of yesteryear because from the start to finish, you see your picture emerge in broad daylight, and it's a very exciting process. Yeah, so I've been photographing the ocean for many years. I was standing on the bluffs of the cliffs in Montauk overlooking the ocean with a large format camera with a lens that was capturing about this much of the ocean surface. And I did this for many years in a variety of different weathers. And a surfer came by, or a man came by and said, "Oh, are you a photographer?" And I said, "Yes, I'm a photographer." I said, "Are you a surfer?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Would you mind going down the bluff and posing for me?" And he said, "I'm very shy in front of the camera. I don't like to pose." And I said, "Well, you'll be this big." And his girlfriend slapped him and said, "He'll do it." And I said, "When you get down there, just hold still and I'll give you the thumbs up when my plate is done exposing." I gave him the thumbs up. He went into the ocean. I went to my dark box. I developed the plate and then I fixed it. And my assistant and I looked at each other. We went, wow, because it was this like big beach ocean with one tiny lone person holding a surfboard. And this combination of human and nature and what it all meant just seemed so important at the moment. So after that, I went down to the surfing beach and I made first contact with surfers. The title of the work is Ben and Corey. I met Corey many years before that as a young surfer. She was trying to make her way into the surf industry and as a surfer and as an artist. And we became friends and I would see her frequently when I went to that same beach. A few years later, we ran into each other again and she said, "My brother is also a surfer and we're from the Central Valley." And I said, "I've always wanted to photograph Mora Rock." She said, "Well, let's go do it." So we made a trip up there. We get to the rock and I realized, oh my God, it's so big. I need to actually get away from the rock so that I could photograph you in front of the rock. So they took me to this location, which they knew, which I was able to photograph them together. I decided to do a diptych so I could get a wider expanse and a bigger plate. And I had to figure out which way the light was coming from, where the shadows were falling in order to know which side of the plate to do first. Let's talk about Afternoon at Arroyo Ranch. I met a guy on Facebook who invited me to a ranch in Santa Barbara, and this ranch was like one of the oldest ranches in Santa Barbara. The person who was running the ranch, Stacy, invited me up there to come and photograph, and she just loved making these pictures with this group of us. My assistant Lisa, my husband Eric often came along, and on this particular trip, my friend Maud came along. She's a family friend, and the pictures have a tendency to kind of unfold over a period of time. And this picture just suddenly appeared with Stacy on the horse and Tony beside her, and then Maud holding Tony's dog in her hand and a surfboard. And this is all to the tune of like a half a second to a 1 second exposure. And everybody is sharp and still. And so when it was done, and my husband Eric saw the photograph, he said, "This looks like a Crosby, Stills and Nash album cover." It's something very Western and folky about it. Well, Western Wave for me evokes a lot of different elements. It can be thought of as, as like a movement, not, necessarily a wave in the ocean, and as a movement towards, the theme of the Western and what that conjures up for people, landscape, uh, people in the landscape, cowboys, surfers, types and communities of people.